Hey friend, I hope you're doing well today. So I have compiled all of the demisexual representation I have ever found in something that I have watched or read, and I'm going to talk about the good and the bad. So the first time I ever saw demisexuality discussed on any kind of media besides just like someone's personal vlog was on the web series Call Me Katie with the character George Bates. And a cool thing about the representation of George Bates is that he states that the term demisexual does feel like it fits him, but that he's not really into labels. And I think that's like a very valid way to feel, and it's good for people to see that that's an option. It was also like he was talking to his friend about it, and his friend was kind of helping him find the right words for what he was feeling and also being really supportive, which I have a soft spot for any kind of media where it shows someone telling someone else about their identity and being supported by that person. Like, obviously that's not the only story to tell, but I really like seeing it that way because it can be really encouraging for people who haven't come out yet but want to see the way it can go well. And this is particularly accurate demisexual representation because he ends up dating the guy who he's telling about his demisexuality, which is like classic demisexual move. Like, your friend who you feel vulnerable with ends up being the one you love. Like, that's the emotional bond in action right there. And then also George Bates is just one of the most likable characters on the web series, so it's nice to see representation paired up with just a genuinely good character. The next place that I saw demisexual representation was in Middlemarch, the series, which my friend Rebecca actually made. The character of Dot is demisexual, which this one was actually really cool because Rebecca told me there was going to be a demisexual character when I'd already watched some of the show, but I didn't know who the demisexual character was, and I totally pegged that it was going to be Dot. Which is really nice when the characters' like actions and feelings inform their demisexuality, like where it's an obvious choice for that character. Like, I've definitely done this before where I'm writing something and I'm like, oh, there should be a demisexual character, and I just kind of like pick someone who it's like, yeah, it would probably fit them. But it's cool to see kind of demisexuality in action and not just thrown in there. And then Dot also is telling a friend about her demisexuality who is supportive, but also wants to like discuss it critically with her, which was a really interesting way to do it and was really interesting to watch. And then next is the book Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. The character of Aled is demisexual. And again, this one has just solid representation of coming out to a friend who's supportive. But this one was a little bit different because it included a pretty solid description of what demisexuality is and how it's on the ace spectrum and stuff like that. And so this representation in particular is good for someone who hasn't heard the term before. Like, the web series explain it briefly, and if someone's interested, they can easily look it up from there, but Radio Silence really breaks it down, which one isn't necessarily better than the other, but it is good to have stuff out there that does explain it. And now we come to the bad representation. So the show Blackish is overall a very good show, and I've personally learned a lot from it, but there's just one thing they didn't get quite right. And by didn't get quite right, I mean they didn't try at all. They weren't trying to have good demisexual representation, and they just did it poorly. They were making a joke. So on the show, when one of the characters, Zoe, goes to college, she has like an orientation thing, and her orientation leader introduces herself as a triracial, gender-fluid, panromantic demisexual who uses they pronouns. And Zoe is like freaked out by this, and it's obviously meant as a joke and kind of like making fun of like, oh, the young people these days and their labels. But like, here's the thing. This could be like someone's first chance to see their identity represented on anything. And to have it be the butt of a joke, you know, it's not great. And I was really disappointed in Blackish in particular for doing this, because they, of all shows, should know that, you know, making fun of a marginalized group, maybe not, but they did it anyways. So if y'all know of any other demisexual representation in like books or TV or web series or webcomics or whatever, please let me know in the comments, because that is exactly 4 things where I have ever seen demisexuality represented. So I would love to find more. Thank you so much for watching. I love y'all very much, and I will see you next week.